Welcome to Semper Sometimes with Benny. So I was not supposed to be alone right now. But the person that was scheduled for this evening couldn't join us. So I just sat here for like 30 minutes waiting on said person. I guess times got conflicted or some kind of confusion came about. But I sat here for a minute and I was just thinking, well, I sat here for like 30 minutes. I was just thinking, about doing one of my rants because I haven't done one in a while. Um, and when I got to thinking was because of course, in today's world in which we live, you're always on your phone. I know I am. And sometimes you get so caught up with your phone that you forget that, life is going on around you. Um, and sometimes it can be a very bad thing, but sometimes it can be a very good thing, and I say that because recently I've had the ability to meet some people through social media, um, and people that have had phenomenal things happen in their life and in their upbringing, um, and in this time, I've been able to you know, follow them on social media and see the things that they go through on a daily. And then I look at myself and I reflect and I'm like, bro, what am I complaining about? You know what I mean? And you know, like there's this guy, Bobby is his name. He's on Instagram and he has, I'm not sure the level of burns, but like, a certain degree burns on his body, face, all the way down, lost an arm. And he's all over Instagram. I met him when I was at the event back in August. Didn't really have a chance to talk to him, but shook hands and said hello. But that was about it. But just seeing him there at the bar and being able to watch him just, be a normal human being and just live life even after having been affected by something like that. Or for instance, this guy, Scotty, that I'm gonna have on the show tomorrow, with a fellow Marine friend of mine, Rasiopi from Inside Me. Him as well, double amputee. Life for him is so different than it is for us. And we quickly begin to think about, oh, always me or stuff like that. And then we forget that, we have the simple things in life, like we're not homeless, we have a home, we have children, or we don't have, whatever it is, but you can get up and you can go and do things like that, and and now, right now I'm being faced with the decision, of whether I'm going to stay in the Marine Corps or not, due to this COVID vaccine. I am trying to get a religious exemption, but without getting too much into that, because I don't want to say something that I shouldn't say or anything like that. But I just think that with everything going on right now in life, there's a lot of uncertainties, every day, and no matter whether it was 10 years or 20 years ago, every day everybody deals with things, and when you become a husband and when you become a father, it's no longer about you. Your decisions have repercussions. Your decisions, are now going to affect other, your children's lives, your wife's lives, the children that are coming. There's so many things that are going on in life, and it's no longer just you. And I think that that's a huge part of what people forget about. People forget that, decisions have consequences, and that there's going to be a lot of things that go on where you have to make a decision, and sometimes, well, regardless, you're going to have to live with said decision, but just ensuring that the decision comes from a place of love, and making sure that the decision is one that you've thought of and mulled over, you know what I mean? And also it's also just the fact of, like, I was talking to a friend the other day, and like, I don't know whether or not I'm going to get out of the Marine Corps, or I'm going to stay in the Marine Corps. That's undetermined at the moment. But a huge thing that a friend of mine had said the other day was like, hey man, sometimes life changes. Your plans change, and your views and your morals change, and where you align yourself with may no longer be where the Marine Corps aligns themselves with. um and it's crazy that that's even a thought in my mind, only because I would have never said that, 4 years ago, or even just a year ago. It's very different. And again, I'm not saying that I'm getting out. Would I love to do 8 more years in the Marine Corps and or more? Like, I ask people who know me, I've said, I would stay in the Marine Corps until they told me I couldn't stay in anymore. And I think that it's important that we just remember where we come from. We were and remember, we remember the leaders that we wanted, and the leaders that we wanted to be. And we also got to remember, though, what we stand for, as men, as parents, as fathers, as sons, as mothers, as daughters. We need to remember that everything we do, it's not just us anymore. And I think that a lot of people forget that. And also, just talking about myself, just be there for one another. Be there for anybody, and that's, I think, a huge part of this whole entire thing that's going on right now. Is a lot of this has become divisiveness. A lot of this has become me versus you. A lot of this has become, vaxxed or unvaxxed, or all these different things, and it's just very disheartening to see people act that way. You know what I mean? Like, bro, if you want to go get it, go get it. If you don't, you don't. Like, that's choice. But I think a huge part of anything in life is just remembering that we need to be there for one another, whether we agree with each other or we don't agree with each other. Especially in the veteran community. The veteran community is either a very good community or it's a very bad community. And I say that because, like, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this person was simply just talking about how, there's this mentality out there that if you never served overseas, then, well, you don't really count. Or if you never were in a combat deployment, then your veteran status doesn't count, or that your military service doesn't count. Um, and when I heard that, it's such a disheartening thing, because, you know, first of all, somebody chose to join the military, and especially in this world in which we live, there's no longer a draft. So nobody said, hey, I'm going to go and just, no one got drafted, in today's world. So everyone who's in the Marine Corps, the military in general, chose to join the military. They chose to, put their hand up and swear the oath. And now, people are saying, oh, well, you're less off than me, or, you don't rate this or you don't rate that. First of all, who are you to tell anybody what anybody rates? So that's something just to think about. And I say that because it's just really fucked up. I'm sorry to throw the F bomb out there because I'm trying to really not, but it really is, because while I was in North Carolina, I went and I met someone, who is a podcaster, a veteran podcaster like me. And she's forced to not be vocal like I am. And even myself, there's so many things that I have to be careful of saying, but she's talking about domestic violence and stuff like this. And it's crazy because when she had a lot of these conversations that she has in her job, in her profession, people have issues with saying it, or, oh, just shut the hell up, it never happened, or, oh, you're making it up. And that's why people bottle things inside. And for this woman to go out of her way to, start a podcast and do those things, is phenomenal. But I really think it's messed up that she has to wait all the way until she gets out of the Marine Corps, to really get into it. But I want to just say thank you to her because, listening to her story, while I was out there, being able to talk to her and learn from her, and just being able to learn about what she's trying to do was phenomenal in and of itself. And just being able to, have an understanding, that there's people out there who really want to make a difference. And there's people who, and it's something that I myself had to deal with as well, because I never really realized it until you meet these people and until you grow up and you live and you learn. And the reality of it is, man, is that there's a lot of people who you know suffer from PTSD, and we got to realize that PTSD isn't just from combat. There's other forms of it, and there's other ways to get it. You don't have to just be in the military, and I think that's a huge part of it, is that mental health alone is just a huge part of the military, but it's also everywhere else. And another thing that she had brought up too was just how, and this is on her podcast, but about how people have kind of publicized this 22 a day thing, and how now you have companies out there who are making money off of it and stuff. And what really sucks about it, and I've mentioned this before in the podcast, but what really sucks is that all of these things start, I think, I truly believe they all began from a level of love. I think they began from a level of love, and I think they all start from the right place. But I think eventually, whether you call it the devil or evil or just bad things, they just creep into our lives, and we have to see them before they get bad, and sometimes we don't, and sometimes it's too far gone. And then we realize, like, crap, we just capitalized on something that shouldn't be capitalized on. um and that's something that I want to make sure that people know, like, with what I'm trying to do with this podcast. What I love for this to be a career of mine 100%, because I'd be able to put more time into it. But really what I'm trying to do is just get people stories out there, like Chad Robichaux. He's one of these days going to be able to get on the podcast, but he's so busy with the different organizations that he runs and the different nonprofits and the different things he's doing out in the world right now, for whether it's the refugees, whether it's for our veterans. He's out there doing so many great things, and his life was changed by God. He's been overseas, 8 different combat deployments, from what I understand. And he was in Force Recon, and his story just is an insane one. Somebody who suffers from PTSD, somebody who had a long list of times where he almost committed suicide. So his story is something that I really want you guys to hear. And the same thing for Scotty. He has a story. You guys are going to hear that. But that's really all I want to do. At the end of the day, nothing matters more than getting people's stories out there. And it's because you don't hear them. You don't hear them. You don't hear the sober talk. You don't hear the stories of people and what they went through for 20 some odd years or 30 years, or even if it was 4 years. And I think we just quickly forget that every one of us is a different person. I think we forget that we all do deal with things differently. And maybe are, not to get biblical, not to get, anything like that, but what, whether you believe in Christianity or not, whether you believe in a God or not, the reality of it is that there's good and there's bad, and we all deal with something. As a Christian, we would call it sin, and we all do. We all deal with sex, lust, alcohol, drugs, something, something. And the thing is that we're always searching for something to fill the void. Because, like Chad, and one of the things, one of the shows or one of the videos he talks about, is just he was trying to fill the void of deployments, or the void of violence, or the things that was going on in his life. So he was going to different things. One of the things that me and Tier talked about was his lust for deployments, the things that he was just trying to just hop on another deployment. And for some people it's not alcohol, for some people it's not drugs, for some people it's it could be video games, it could be, there's so many different things. And I think that we're so quick to label people alcoholics or whatever it is, but then we forget that we're dealing with something on our own. So that's the thing I would ask you to do. And another thing, just kind of having this conversation too, is just, and this is not, and I know anybody who follows me on Facebook or anything like that, I know I friggin' sometimes I say some emo shit. And it's just, it's just the reality of it. People will tell you, especially in the veteran community, hey man, I'm always going to be there for you, bro. And then it's like, it's funny because you get off of active duty and a year goes by, and you don't talk to nobody. And it's hilarious because it's like, you know what, if you didn't turn your phone on, if you didn't hit anybody up, who would really hit you up? And the reality of it is that, you know, myself, like, dude, I've got my wife, I've got my kids, like that's the most important thing to me. And I've realized that now. You know, my birthday's tomorrow, and you know, I realized that, you know, I wanted for so long. I was like, oh, I want to go out. I want to do this. I want to do that. Or, you know, I come home and I'm like, bro, I hate sitting home all day. I want to go out and do something. And now it's just, you know, sometimes I have that feeling, but now it's, you know, Saturdays is time for my son to do soccer. And, you know, Sundays it's time for church or to do things with the family, you know. And, you know, it's crazy how life changes. But really, what I would ask you is if you tell somebody you're going to hit them up, and don't just hit them up to say, hey, man, you know, are you coming to my daughter's sweet 16? Nah, motherfucker, I'm not, because I haven't spoken to you in like 7 months on a realistic basis. So you can go screw yourself. But on the other hand, how are you? Because I actually do give a shit about you and your family, and I hope things are doing good. Um, and that's the reality of it, man. Like you should be that way. You know, don't just hit people up to see what the fuck you can do, what can be done for you. Just hit people up to genuinely see, hey man, how are you doing? Um, See how their family is doing, their children, you know. And then also don't be the person to just hit up people for empty prayers. Like, oh, hey man, I saw your Facebook status, bro. I'm praying for you, chalking up the deuces. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that I've never been that guy, because I have been. But let's just be more cognizant of it, you know? Like if you it shouldn't take someone's Facebook status for you to reach out to them. It shouldn't take somebody's Instagram post to reach out to them. You know, it should really just be like a, you know, hey, check up on your buddy type thing, you know, and just be like, hey, bro, how are you? You know, because it's funny because I have, you know, I probably have like 800 names in my phone of people that I don't speak to. Um, and, you know, and you quickly realize the ones that you do. And then you quickly realize, you know, and now mind you, there are those people that, you know, if you really needed something, they'd be there. And you don't talk every day. And and I get it, you know, because life happens. You know, you have a family, they have a family, they mean to call you and you forget. But it's just don't forget that you have people in your lives that want to help you and that want to be there for you. And especially in the veteran community, you know, because there are people who are feeling a certain type of way that'll never come out to you. You know, they'll never reach out to you and say, oh shit, I feel this way. So, you know, sometimes you just got to ask, you know, like, hey man, I noticed this. Hey man, I noticed that. You know, and I've said this before, like, you know, me noticing something, you know, it actually ended a friendship of mine for about a year and a half where the dude didn't talk to me. But I told him later on, like, yo, I don't regret it. You know, at least I said something. Now, do I regret the way that I did it? Maybe I could have done it better, 100%. Um, but really, all I'm trying to say to you is, and myself, is just be who you want, you know, be who you need, you know, whether it's a father, whether it's a husband, like, you know, be the person that you need to be and be the person that you need, because that's what other people need, you know. And just, and, you know, and something I'm learning now, you know, is just be there for your family more. Be there for your loved ones, you know, be there for the people that are in your corner, because a lot of times when you're fighting in the ring, you forget who's behind you, you know, you forget who's in your corner, you know, you forget about the person who's giving you the water or whatever, you know, you want to use. But yeah, you know, you really quickly forget about it. And you got to remember that there are people that are there, and a lot of times those are the ones that we kind of forget to talk to, or we kind of forget to ask about. um so all in all, I know this is just like a random rant, but just stand your ground with whatever it is going on in your life at the time, and remember that the decisions that you make are going to be decisions that last forever. um and sometimes even the smallest of decisions are things that, you know, they're going to make that huge ripple in time. They're going to make that huge change later on in life. And a lot of times we think that these little things, you know, aren't really huge things, but then later on in life we're like, wow, that was really a huge thing I kind of just did. um and also just take time to think about it, and whether you're a Christian and you want to say, hey, take time to pray about it, but just don't make quick decisions, and that's something that I'm learning, now. And as I grow older and as as life moves forward, 12 years in the Marine Corps, about to be 31 tomorrow. I know I'm still young, but, just it's crazy to think about, it's crazy to think, where I am in life, because I never thought I'd be here, and it's all for the Marine Corps. If it wasn't for the Marine Corps, if it wasn't for God putting me in the Marine Corps, I wouldn't be here. The fact that I'm 31 years old, I'm sitting in my garage right now. In Brooklyn, I didn't grow up with a garage. I didn't have one of those. And I really, I didn't grow. I'm not gonna say I grew up poor, but it's just crazy, because if you had told me when I was, younger, that I would have the things that I have now, I wouldn't have believed you. If you told me that I'd have the love of my life, the children that I have, I wouldn't believe it. And it's really just because, I just didn't see myself having it. It's a dream that I wanted. I just didn't think it was going to be real for me. And it is, and it's crazy to say that. It's crazy. 8 years ago, yesterday I got married. And now we have two children, and it's just crazy to think about where we are in life. But it's also crazy to think about where we are in life just because everything going on. Like, if you told me years ago that this would be going on right now, everybody's like, yeah, okay. Like, you would never, like, this is something out of like the Chronicles of Narnia, like we opened the wrong closet or some shit. And that's the reality of it, is that I think we all need to take a step back and just look at life and be like, hey, what the hell is going on? And I also think that I think we also need to use some common sense. I think common sense has gone out the freaking window wholeheartedly. I think it's just something that no longer exists in the world in which we live. Some of you out there in the world, I'm watching and I'm looking at you and I'm like, what are you doing? Just common sense wise, like, listen, man, I'm all for you doing what you want to do, but just stop being afraid to live. Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, dude, whether you get the vaccine, you don't get the vaccine, like, stop being afraid to live. Stop being afraid to go about normal life. Like, stop. Just go back to the way things, because it's never going to happen. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, oh, I can't wait for normalcy to come back. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not coming back. It's not coming back until you make it happen. You will never go back to living a normal life until you decide that I'm going back to living a normal life. And some people never stopped living a normal life. They were like, yo, this shit's batshit crazy from the jump. I'm not going to change my ways. I'm not saying that's me. I'm not saying it's not me, but the reality of it is that just take a second to think about yourself. You know what I mean? And I'm talking to myself too. Like, get off of Instagram, get off of Facebook, get off of podcasts, and take a second to just look at your life and decide, okay, well, where are these thoughts and feelings coming from? Are they mine? Are they my own? Or are these being given to me by somebody else? Are they being given to me by friends, family, the media? Because I think a lot of what's going on, and again, I ask myself the same question, like, do I feel the way that I feel because of my own intuition, because of my own thought process, because of my own conscience, or do I feel this way because I'm being told this way? You know what I mean? So I think that's a huge part of it as well. I think, and if you're the person out there, like, and I'm sorry, because I've talked to you. If you're the person out there who's like, hey, just get it and shut the fuck up. No, that's not, like, that is the worst advice you could ever give anybody. Hey man, just take it. Who cares? Yeah. Yeah. No, like, get out of here, bro. Like, no. There's a lot of other things in life. Hey, you know what? The guy just robbed you. It's not a big deal. Just, go on with life. Hey, yo, guy, I'm gonna take everything in your house. Oh, it's not a big deal. Just let it happen. Just let it happen. Guy. Hey, yo, guy, just yeah, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal no more. It's this guy took that and this guy took that, and I just sat here and I didn't do nothing about it. So what you should do is just take it, and that's it. And then 10 years from now, if it's a problem, it's a problem. But who cares, bro? Because bro, we've taken blue pills, we've taken red pills, we've they told you to do this and you did it, and you should just keep doing it because they all told you to do it, and yeah, yo guy, that's it. The guy told you to do it, and you should do it because he said to do it, and yeah, that's just how it works. Like, you should just do it because he said that you should do it, and then you shouldn't do that because he said not to do that, and you shouldn't do it because I said you shouldn't do it, and if you do it and I said you shouldn't do it, then it's a problem that you did it. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's like literally the conversations that are being had right now in the world. Like, you should just do it because he said you should do it. Okay, makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so tomorrow's gonna be an exciting day. I'm gonna drop this one right now just because I said tomorrow and stuff like that. But I'm excited for tomorrow. I gotta do work. And then after work, I'm gonna have Rasiopi over here. And I'm gonna have Scott, and we're gonna get into some awesome stuff. And then I'm gonna have, Cam over here with his kit with some freaking cameras, with some freaking stuff. So I think well, I know tomorrow's episode is gonna be freaking killer. And before I end this, if you are watching this right now and you don't follow my YouTube channel, and you don't follow my Instagram channel, and you don't follow my Facebook, and you don't follow any of the things that I'm doing, well, then you need to go need to. You need to go need to. You know what I mean? You need to go need to. Hey, yo, guy, just figure it out. Mustache is back. I apologize that there was a couple of videos that it was gone, but had to kind of fix it up. And the reality of it is that, listen, am I ever going to one day become some huge YouTube fame? I have no idea, because apparently you got to do some like algorithms, and you got to freaking put certain keywords up for them to mean something. And it's like, bro, why does it got to be so complicated? Just watch my video, like the video, share the video, and then let's go. Like, if you want to hop on the podcast, give me a call. I'll come to you. I really don't care. But the reality of reality is that, like, do you ever wish there was a time stone where you could just, wow, and we could just go back to like 2019 and like get rid of all this crazy stuff? Because I don't know about y'all, but this is some crazy shit going on. And now, mind you, if we did that, I wouldn't have a podcast. So maybe we could like change some of that, but then none of that ever works out, which really doesn't make any freaking sense. Because if you watch those Avengers movies, them shits don't make no sense. Like, I was talking to somebody about that the other day. I'm really going on a rant right now. I don't know how the hell I ended up over here on Avengers, but I'm gonna just end this by saying this: be you, love who you is, and be who you be. And for anybody out there who watching this right now, if anybody's telling you to do some shit just because you should do some shit, well, then that's fucking retarded. Like, that is freaking stone cold stupid. Like, that's just the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Oh, hey, bro, just how it's always been. Oh, so that's the logic that we're living by now. So it's always been like that, and it should be like that. Oh, well, I guess we should have never gotten cars because we didn't have cars. I guess we shouldn't have gotten. I just don't understand. I don't understand. So let's just use some common sense thinking, because in my mind, a lot of this is just literally people that don't have common sense. Like, none of it makes sense. So, I hope you have a good rest of the day, because you may watch this at day, night, evening. I don't know when. So good luck. And just be awesome. And excuse me, that's the thing I hate about seltzer, man, is that it just freaking causes you to but on the real, make sure that whatever decision you're making, whatever the decision it is, doesn't have to be a specific topic, but whatever decision you're making, remember that that decision is going to take you somewhere. Negative, positive, maybe nowhere for that moment, but at some point that decision will mean something. And just remember that, because there's going to be a time where you're going to look back and you're like, oh crap, So, without further ado, that didn't make sense. Without any more hesitation, good evening, good night, and for one last time, okay. Bye bye. Skibbity bop, skibbity boo, skibbity bip, skibbity bop, skibbity boo, skibbity bibbity bibbity bop. Ooh.